But in our case, as a paper company, is that we have success in terms of pushing for like certified paper products, which is being adapted for packaging and promotional materials. Would you believe that during the pandemic, those are the products that actually made us survive?
Welcome and good day. Welcome to season 16, episode 8. I think all of us know that it's getting kind of hot outside. In fact, scientists are already saying that this will be new for humanity because we've never seen temperatures this high. So we're all experiencing something new. And today's guest, Miss Leah Ayeng, is the exact person who can help us understand this better. She'll be talking about sustainability marketing. She is Asia's top outstanding women marketer awardee, sustainability advocate, and leader. She's a certified professional marketer, and she is one of the 10 outstanding marketing students of the Philippines Awardee, or TOMAS. Leah, over to you.
Hi, Paul. Good afternoon. Thanks for having me. I'm very honored to be your guest for today, especially on a topic that I'm very passionate about. So just recently, just to add to that profile, is I was also awarded by the Go Negosyo, Inspiring Filipina, under the category of Women Enabler. This is because of my advocacy in terms of pushing for sustainable practices and encouraging more entrepreneurs and artists to really anchor into more sustainable materials. So for today, I hope that I will be able to really share valuable insights about how everybody can actually anchor to sustainability.
We're definitely looking forward to that. And let's start with that because sustainability is a word that I'm sure everybody has heard of, and maybe they're not quite sure exactly what it means. So tell us a little bit first about the history of sustainability and sustainability marketing, when it started and where it is now with a typical consumer.
Okay. So, sustainability marketing is actually our theme for the 70th anniversary of the Philippine Marketing Association. So that's why we are actually pushing for a multi-sectoral approach in terms of, anchoring everybody in terms of legislation, the government, and the private sector in terms of responsible production, and the consumers, and of course the academe. So currently, I am the director for the Youth and Academe of the Philippine Marketing Association. And at the same time, I'm currently the vice president for external affairs of the Pasig Chamber of Commerce. So that's where the alignment is. We're actually pushing for really for circularity and at the same time trying to create awareness and educate people about why is it there's a need for everybody to really anchor to sustainability. So when we talk now about sustainability, we have to go back to the principles of ESG, or what we call the environment, social, and governance. So, more than compliance is actually we have to look at our operations in terms of as a business, as a responsible business, we have to really look into not only the environment part but also social and the governance part. So that's why sustainability, the 17 goals, is really anchored not only on the planet portion, but we also have to look at people and prosperity as well. So for the awareness of everybody, the SDGs was actually adopted by the United Nations in 2015. When we talk about the global goals or the SDGs, there are actually 17 SDGs, and there are three pillars of it: the people, the planet, and the prosperity pillar. As I've said earlier, as a responsible business leader and as a marketer as well, is that there is really a need for us to anchor everybody in terms of the use of raw materials or sustainable raw materials and promotional materials as well. Yeah. So that's the background about sustainability and sustainability marketing.
Before we continue, can you explain a little bit what circularity means? You mentioned it earlier. Just for clarification, when you say circularity, what are you referring to?
Well, when we talk about the circularity or circular economy, it's actually giving a second life to every material use that we are actually using. Because as we know that our resources are actually finite, so that's why we have to maximize its use. And at the same time, we really need to look at things on how to really maximize and recover the material so that it becomes a valuable resource again.
Oh, okay, all right. And so far, let's start with the consumer. Typically, how is the consumer taking these sustainability initiatives that you're doing, or the country has done?
Well, in the recent years, I actually noticed a shift in terms of behavior. And I'm very particularly very keen on looking at especially the Gen Zs or the youth, because I think 5 years from now they are the ones who will be serving and who will predominantly be com- uh, will compose the workforce. So few years back, we actually had like some setbacks and obstacles in terms of, trying to anchor everybody in terms of sustainability. But there are more awareness now in terms of anchoring even at the consumer level. One model that I've seen actually when I had a recent visit in Australia is that even their kids, they're actually trying to discipline and encourage them to anchor to sustainability on an early age. So before, when we go to vendor machines, we would
Mm.
normally buy products. Now in Australia, one thing that I appreciate is actually even the kids, they actually collect their plastic or the PET bottles, the things that they can still recycle, and then they bring them to the grocery stores or to the grocery I mean to the supermarkets, and
Mhm.
then they are being incentivized for doing that. So that's also one way of encouraging our youth. And at the same time, I think during my recent talks also, the kids are really more keen now in terms of segregating their trashes.
Mhm.
And they are doing a lot of initiatives as well in their schools. So they're doing also campaigns. So I think right now there is more adaption in terms of anchoring to sustainable practices on a consumer level.
Oh, that's really good to hear because you know the challenge you face is really it's even just here in the Philippines. It can't just be one sector doing it. Everybody has to do it. Okay,
Yeah.
to make sense because it's the whole environment. It's not just your environment, if you want to say. So, but the how about because typically for me, when I fill out a questionnaire that says, "Would you be willing to spend more to buy products that are eco-friendly?" I might click yes. But then when I go to the supermarket, I see the price and I see the money in my pocket, and I change my mind. Okay, all right.
Okay.
I, does that happen, or is this or maybe how do you plan to, or what are your plans to at least alleviate the pressure there, if you want to say?
Well, as a sustainability advocate, actually, that is one of the obstacle that we are facing right now because of the cost component of it. Because being sustainable is not cheap. It's actually it's like a luxury for everybody as of the moment. Because imagine when you like for example, as you've said, you'll be shocked sometimes when you compare a sustainable product as against to product that is not really communicating their sustainability, sustainability initiatives, is that you can actually see the difference. But I hope that by creating awareness and educating more people on how we can really be more responsible in terms of our choices. Because as they said, there is actually no business in a dead planet. So there
Right.
has to really be a balance between cost or COST and the cost of doing things, which is CAUSE.
Mhm.
Because after all, there will only be one planet. There is no planet B. So we have to act now and be more conscious about our choices and thinking actually more long term or forward
Mhm.
looking. Because imagine, there is this case that we are this is the thing that I'm actually telling, even when I, because as a director I would normally be invited in schools to really communicate about sustainability marketing. And one thing that I really would like to share to them is that when you buy things, is you also have to think of, um if you can use it for multiple usage. Like for example, is it more durable? And then you also have to be more responsible, especially on your clothing, right? Because as we know that unsustainable fashion is actually one of the culprit of trying to contaminate or pollute our waters, because they use a lot of dyes. And
Yeah.
sometimes it starts with our habit in terms of consumption. We buy a lot online. So instead of just buying a lot online and then just discard it, one time use, why not use a product which is more sustainable, but you can use it for more than 10 times? So
Mhm.
on that note, you'll be more cost effect. That would be more cost effective on your part, because apart from you maximize the use of your clothing, is that you also contribute to a better world, a more sustainable future.
Mhm.
So that's why it's very important also to really communicate all of these things, and this type of conversation is very much needed in our today's environment, because the media plays actually a very vital role in terms of communicating these changes. So, each time that I'm being invited, I really take this opportunity to really share these advocacies, especially not only on the business sector, but also on the consumer level. And hopefully, we have this mindset that it's like the food that we eat, that we check the nutritional ingredients or the facts. If it's something that does not only nourish our body, but it's also something that nourishes our environment.
Oh, I like that. Nourishing our environment. That's a nice one. Uh, it's funny. Even when you buy online, there's also a whole lot of extra packaging that comes with it. That sometimes it just
Yeah,
generates
you
more.
said it perfectly. Because Paul, before, one of the contaminants of our oceans, especially in Manila Bay, are the plastic straws.
Mm. Okay.
So yeah, so we've solved that, right? We've seen the shift.
Yeah.
We've shifted to more biodegradable alternatives, and even shifted to strawless.
Hmm.
So it's
Right.
doable. But the thing is, during the pandemic, the e-commerce plastics actually are the ones now contaminating our drainage systems. Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's another problem. So that's why we also have to look at our consumption habits as well. We have to really audit, and we do not buy a lot if that. And in a way, there are solutions to that naman. Like for example, shifting to a more sustainable transport materials, like probably boxes, packaging that we can
Mhm.
repurpose. But the thing is, we can see a lot of plastic still, e-commerce plastic
Yes.
that remains discarded, and one of the problems in terms of solid waste nowadays.
It's funny because I'm of that age, and uh, Dino is also. I don't know about you, but in the 70s, there was no plastic, and
Oh
there
yeah,
also was no trash in the streets. It wasn't as bad. Okay, why? Because you go to the palenque, they wrap it in jario, and then you throw away the jario. The jario biodegrades, it disappears.
yes,
Okay, and we wouldn't really see much of a mess. Okay, why? Because there was no plastic; it was just all paper. Okay, and I was thinking about it. If we did it then, maybe we could still do it today. It's just that maybe we're a little too hooked on plastics, which admittedly are very, very convenient. Okay.
yeah. Actually, in the course of really bringing in the inconvenient water, diba, that's actually one of the problem that that we have right now. And by the way, I was also born in the 70s.
Okay. I was born
So
in the 60s, so I'll be quiet. Okay.
and I remember during when I was a kid, we would normally buy soft drink products in bottles. So when we go back to to the sari-sari store, we would normally be incentivized for the deposit. So the
Mhm,
same model, right? So if we don't have any recourse because of the convenience of using the PET bottles, which are supposedly recyclable, it starts with just the habit of really doing something in order to bring them back to the ecosystem to have them
mhm.
recycled. So it just takes probably legislation like the EPR law, and everybody follows. And instead of like, for example, if I am the manufacturer, instead of like providing POPs or point of purchase materials, the display
Mhm.
materials, then why not provide crusher or
Ah,
shredder,
or a
so
shredder,
that
yes.
we can actually eliminate or we can cut the sorting process and bring them to the upcyclers direct. There's no
No,
need to
because
segregate. It's
what the,
probably a solution, right?
no, it sounds like a great idea because even me, my hands get tired, cutting up the plastic. Okay, I do, but it is a hassle. Okay, but from what I know, plastics are notoriously difficult to how do you call it, to recycle. Okay, when I say notoriously difficult, it's I really have to separate the kinds of plastic. I just can't put them all into one place and it'll do it automatically. So let's say I'm doing PE, I can't mix it up with polystyrene, for example. Okay, because
Mm-hmm.
it'll destroy the machine, from what I understood.
Mm-mm.
So when it comes to that, maybe that's a challenge we have, learning how to segregate the different kinds of plastics, if you want to say. But so far, we've been talking about the consumer. How about the business? What I've observed is that the initial or maybe even current model that businesses have is profit first and sustainability. Okay, they'll make the profit and then they'll talk about sustainability. It's not really sustainability first, or sustainability is built into their profit model. What have we been doing, or what have you been doing with the companies so far?
Oh, well, for me, it's still we really need to strike the balance between being profitable and being responsible.
Right.
So it's not the other way around. So it's because, as I said earlier, there is no business in a dead planet.
Mhm. Right.
So when you manufacture something, you have to think long term on how to, not contribute to the waste
To
or
the
to the
way.
solid waste, and you have to ensure that you are nature positive. And not
Right.
only that, you also have to ensure that, yeah, so we have to elicit more consumers to actually patronize also those businesses that invest on sustainability, because
Mhm.
it's like, it's a chicken and egg thing. If we do not support them, then they'll end up being discouraged as well. They do not
Right.
become profitable. So that's why legislation plays a vital role in terms of compliance. But we as a consumers has to be unempowered consumers by patronizing only those business that are really responsible.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah. So because you cannot really be sustainable if you're not profitable, you'll end up being discouraged. But in our case, as a paper company, is that we have success in terms of pushing for like certified paper products, which is being adapted for packaging and promotional materials. Would you believe that during the pandemic, those are the products that actually made us survive? So that's
Mhm.
why being sustainable is really a profitable business as well.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very easy to, because even the plastic problem, we are the number one
Mhm.
contributor to the plastic. What is it? Waste in the
Yeah.
ocean.
Yeah.
But from what I know, much of that is imported. It's not ours, if you want to say. Okay, so we're
Yeah.
importing trash from other nations. And I go, what?
That's sad because we are in the map of being one of the largest contributor of plastic waste in the world based on data.
Mhm. Right.
That's why we need to appreciate data science as well. If these are the things that we are seeing, which could be a potential problem in the future, then we have to act really now. It's like an
Mhm.
emergency for everybody that, oh, hey, Philippines, we are now the largest contributor of plastic waste. So we should do more. So we have to really anchor everybody. It's a multi-sectoral approach. If I may emphasize, there's the legislation. We have good policies. So the businesses has to have compliance, and then the consumers has to be more empowered, and then the academe has to educate more in terms of awareness. So that's why sustainability marketing nowadays is really very important as well, because it's about communicating change. It's not
Mhm.
only about promotion, but it's also about making people responsible of their own trash or for of their own businesses. Yeah.
Maybe you should say it's more about communicating survivability. Okay,
Oh,
not just change because, as you said, it's a dead planet. What are we going to do without it?
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
Right.
actually, yeah.
No, but it's I'm in my mind. I said we've let's just take a look at plastics, just for an example. We
Mhm,
lived before without them. We did. Okay, maybe our population wasn't as large, agreed, but we lived without plastics before. So
mhm.
so it can be done. Uh, one last question though. In this, even I know we're talking about here in the Philippines, but even in the world stage, when a company measures its, how would you say, its carbon footprint, if you want to say,
Or their ambition targets,
yeah, their
their
ambition
sustainability
targets,
ambition targets. Yes.
right? Sometimes the way it's measured, because one of the ways you can offset a carbon footprint is buying carbon credits. Okay. But
Mhm,
even from what I understand, the way the carbon credits are measured, there's not, let's say, there's no full agreement on how it's measured, or the ways you can still go around it and still find
mhm,
yourself, saying, hey, look, my carbon footprint has been minimized, but the carbon credits you bought weren't really, good carbon credits, if you want to say.
mhm.
Uh, uh, I know we're talking about the Philippines, but how is that impacting the Philippines? How is that, or does it allow our businesses to circumvent uh, the efforts that you're doing?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There are actually a lot of ways, especially in the Philippines, that we are a tropical country.
Hmm.
So we just need to like tap to more renewable energy,
Right.
because transparency in terms of reporting our ambition, our sustainability ambition targets is one way of measuring your progress.
Hmm.
But actually, more than that is the commitment to really look at other areas wherein you can actually anchor to a more sustainable um, business environment. Like, for example, as I said, is the adoption of renewable energy. Another thing is that being responsible of your waste.
Right.
Okay, so promoting circularity. And another way also is actually ending up uh promoting yung promoting for the people pillar. Another way is looking at agriculture as well,
Hmm.
for sustainable food system, and then planting more trees to
Right.
really offset, doing some coastal cleanup, because we have problems in terms of plastic pollution in the oceans, and the country being an archipelago. So, and then our GDP is actually very reliant also on our tourism
Right.
income. So that's why we also have to encourage people to do it can, being sustainable actually doesn't have to be that too grand. It can starts with small acts, but when collectively done, is that we can try to make a difference. So we can solve our global problems with our, of course, with our local solutions, because there is no such thing as a solution that fits all. Besides, we are not a highly industrialized country.
Mhm.
So the carbon emission, although we have a problem in terms of carbon emission, but the imperative actually in the Philippines is to really reduce our solid waste management. So how do we do that? So it starts with us, consumers, as I mentioned, and if I may emphasize again, it starts at home. Everything that we are having in terms of problems on solid waste management really starts at home. And being a mom, I feel that we are actually have a very role, a huge role in terms of decision making in the things that we buy at home,
Mhm.
and
Right.
even supporting the right model in terms of discarding our food waste. Yeah.
Okay, so other than those, what are some basic tips that you can, especially for the individuals? You're a mom. You said make better choices if you want to say, which is
Mm-hmm.
excellent. I think all mothers, I know they want the best for their children, but that also includes the future. Okay,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
which is what they're thinking about for sure. But other than that, let's say I'm a typical Gen Z person, or let's say like me, I'm a baby boomer. Well, what are some things basic things, simple things that you mentioned that maybe we can do to support this? Because you know, if I look at the totality of the whole thing, it's easy to get discouraged. Okay, when I say
Okay.
so, but what
Yeah,
are the
it's
small
better
things
to
that we
talk on
can
a
do?
consumer level, right? Because
Yeah.
everybody can actually resonate. Yeah, so mom, I always discourage my daughter. I only have one daughter to actually buy a lot online to reduce the plastic waste and to be buying a lot but not being she's not being able to use it at all. So being you only buy what you need. That's one thing, disciplining your the whole household. And in terms of buying also sanitation products and even your personal hygiene, is that as much as possible you also buy refillable options instead of buying uh, in plastic containers. That's one thing, because as we know that although PET bottles are recyclable, we still have to perfect our system. So yeah, so we also have to make conscious choices in terms of our purchasing habits at home. So one way is adapting to more refillable options instead of buying in containers, because there is still a problem in terms of recyclability of plastic. The infrastructure now in the Philippines is not yet that perfect. So another way also is trying to reduce our food waste, because we are an agriculture country, but at the same time those food waste also can be valuable resource when you use it like as fertilizer. But we only consume what we as much as possible. We only consume what we need, and at the same time we do not, because our culture actually we would normally have like fiestas even at home. We cook a lot, but we're not able to eat them. So we just need to be more mindful about our consumption on food, because knowing that our consumption of food also affects our climate.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
It does. It does.
Mm.
Well, I'm lucky because I compost all my food, whatever's left over, and most of it is
Mm.
vegetable trimmings. But as a thought, the one thing that they do in commercial kitchens is all the trimmings they throw into a boiling pot of water. Okay, and
Mm.
they actually use that as flavoring, as stock.
Yeah.
Okay, of
Mm.
course you have to know how to clean it, but it's not really that difficult to do. But it's one thing they do, and it's one thing that I think they can do in the markets rather than just throwing the entrails of the fish, for example.
Mm. Mm.
I mean, they
Mm.
put it into a boiling pot, and at least they could find a way to use it elsewhere. But
Yeah.
thank you for those tips, and they are definitely things that are all actionable on our end. Okay, no matter what generation you belong to. But
Mm.
Leah, are there any events that you'd like to invite our viewers to that you might be either hosting or you're the guest or?
Okay. In October, Paul, we'll be actually having our strategic marketing conference for students.
Hmm.
So we're eyeing to have like to gather different universities, students from different universities nationwide, And then we'll be having the first ASEAN Stratmark, which focuses on topics about sustainability marketing. So we aim to have a high level and high impact, trying to educate and at the same time getting commitment from the academe in terms of committing to sustainable practices.
Mhm.
So I think that is also our advocacy in the Philippine Marketing Association, wherein we try to use our voice to really raise awareness in terms of, especially me as a sustainability advocate. Something that's really very important to me is the use of biodegradable and recyclable
Mm.
packaging materials, and also trying to shift our use of plastic to paper, because paper is biodegradable in nature, but not just as a regular paper, but paper that are actually certified, which means
Mm.
they are coming from a well-managed forest. So
Right.
we also try to audit the source. And also, I'm very passionate about trying to shift our usage of promotional materials, like the use of Sintra and tarpaulin, to a more biodegradable materials, because as we know, they are really not good for our landfill. So
Mhm.
even if they say that they contest that, it can be, it can be repurposed, but it's not actually there's no system that, or there's no massive or scalable system in terms of the circularity of those
Mhm.
materials.
Right.
So it's not been established. So that's why we just need to be more conscious and trying to promote events that doesn't use unsustainable materials. And another thing is trying to educate as well, people about the use of, of, or trying to reduce our screen time.
Mhm.
Because as we know, each time that we click a page or we click a video, there are a
Right.
lot of data centers that is being really powered by electricity, which is very unsustainable. I think we're by then.
Well, even AI is already they're projecting it will require a lot of cooling power for the data centers of AI, if you want to say. By the way, where can you tell our guests where we can reach you? How can we reach you?
Oh yeah, I can be reached through LinkedIn. You
Okay.
can follow me, and also to my Facebook, because as you know, nowadays, it's very important that you are present multi-platform,
Right.
because each of the platform has a different type of, different type of followers or segment. When you go to LinkedIn, you connect to professionals.
All
When you
right.
go to Facebook, it's like the commodity thing that everyone. Then when you go to Instagram, I also have my Instagram, and then you can connect to millennials and Gen Zs. And then when you go to TikTok, mostly Gen Zs.
Ah, okay, all right. Well, that's why
So
you're
I'm
a marketing
present.
expert. That's why you're a marketing expert. Okay. Uh, but thank you so much to our viewers and guests. If you enjoyed what you saw, please click on the like, share, and follow buttons at the bottom. And for our episode 9, we'll have Mr. Jerry Elau, who will be talking about the 5 strategies to dominate in 2024 and beyond. As always, learning is a never-ending journey with limitless vistas.